Hey, two shippers. Come on in. Let's talk about who old desperate Trump. Baby, that ass is desperate, ain't it? Please come on in so I can give this a little bit of time. Hey, Samantha, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. That Panic, baby, his name should be PP Panic. Heavy diaper. I asked, come on, y'all, come on in. Did he have another meltdown? Breakdown today? What was this? This is, he came back off that trip. Let me see what he done about. Yeah, I know Shannon Sharp got fired from ESPN. What is it? Is it? I don't know what he thought. Yeah, I don't know what he thought. He knew they was gonna let that ass go. Come on in, y'all. Hey, Crystal, thank you. Say when he came back from, they ran him out the country. Judge strike. What? Ooh. Trump Department of Justice get back into corner by federal judges. Yeah, it's a lot going on. He thought he was dodging. He came back faking and shaking and fronting and stunting. I saw him cheating on the golf course, trying to drop the ball close. Boy, he just trifling all over the place. He is a sorry excuse for just a sorry excuse. Sore loser, cheating and scamming everything, everybody. He don't care. So he came in, back in, going in on Barack. Beyonce never said they was gonna sue him. You better back your broke butt up. Oh, I wonder how the people really felt who thought that he had a plan. Like, he knew what he was doing, though. I can't believe people really believed in him. That blows my mind. I ain't gonna even lie. But he came in on that bull crowd. I guess he decided to leave Beyonce alone for a minute. But I'm gonna tell y'all, some of these people that he picking with, he may have a little insight on them. They may be a part of that list. And he picking at them on the cool. You know, you never know how with him. You never know with him. But let's hear it. Let's listen.
To indict
Please
Donald
come in,
Trump
hitting
just
the like
had
button.
a disastrous return from Scotland to the United States. He's having an awful morning. He's panicking. He's making post after post. He's probably made 2 or 3 dozen posts like this. A photo of his face, and then next to it the text reads, "It's time to..."
Oh, I'm sorry. You may make it bigger.
Join eToro's Learn and Earn Challenge and earn cash. It's easy. Visit etoro.tw/
I'm
Trump with
slipping.
girls of made 2 or 3 dozen posts like this, a photo of his face, and then next to it the text reads, "It's time to indict Obama, the traitor, for treason." The President of the United States is using his official account to say it's time to indict a former president for treason right there. Then Donald Trump posts about it again. He reposts something called MAGA Memesar that says treason. Evidence proves both the FBI and CIA were deeply involved in the historic 2020 election lie that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian propaganda. The United States is using his official account to say it's time to indict a former president for treason right there. Then Donald Trump posts about it again. He reposts something called MAGA Memesar that says treason. Evidence proves both the FBI and CIA were deeply involved in the historic 2020 election lie that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian propaganda. Donald, you were in office in 2020. It was your FBI. It was your CIA. And I know you're trying to distract from your Epstein cover-up, especially yesterday while you were on the plane and you said that Epstein stole young girls from Maralargo like Virginia Giuffre, who he sex trafficked.
Do he not know that he just said I had minors, that I was invited? He stole my ex-trafficked young girls, minor girls from me. So that's the disgusting thing that he said he did. He stole the girls that he had at Mar-a-Lago. That's why I put from Mar-a-Lago to Epstein Island. So you stopped being friends with him. You really didn't. You know, you just, I don't know what made you came up with this bright idea. I know your mama used to beat your butt all the time. She caught you in all your lies because you are not a good storyteller. Ooh, Lord, you got your butt whooped. I know you did. I know you did. That's why they sent you to that all-boy school, that reform school. What happened to you in that reform school? Huh? What happened? Talk to us, Trumpty Dumpty. Sit on the wall. Trumpty Dumpty had a great fall. What happened to you in that all-boy reform school? Yeah, something happened. Yeah, oh, yeah, but your pawpaw, your grandpawpaw, you know, he had a brothel too when he snuck over into our country. Yeah, and brought your little badass. Okay. Okay. Let's go.
I know you're trying to distract from your Epstein cover-up, especially yesterday while you were on the plane and you said that Epstein stole young girls from Mar-a-Lago like Virginia Giuffre, who he sex trafficked.
A minor.
But you are now admitting you were aware that Epstein would take these young girls like Virginia Giuffre from Mar-a-Lago, or as you say, stole it. But you posting this and panicking just makes you look like you're hiding something even bigger.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump posts this. It's a photo of like Obama and Obama's administration and Clinton and James Comey and others. And they're behind prison cells. They're behind prison bars. And it says, until this happens, meaning until they go to prison, Obama and his administration, nothing will change. Could you imagine just for a moment if former President Biden made a post like that, or if any former president made a post like that? Or how about this, where Donald, this is all this morning, by the way. This just happened. It was post. Again, 2 or 3 dozen posts like that. I'm only going to show you some of them.
Back.
Then Donald Trump reposts a QAnon account called Spiritual Street Fighter 17. And then it's a photo of him and it says, "Be the calm in the storm. We knew this day would come." By the way, that's all QAnon slogans right there. And what that means, the storm, and remember all the other posts that he made, is when there will be public executions on Capitol Hill of his political rivals. That's what QAnon says, that Trump will kill all of them on live TV for their involvement in a secret pedo cabal, which now we know Donald Trump is covering up. We always knew it, is covering up for the cabal. GOP stands for Guardians of the Pedos.
Everything he blamed other people
Trump
is him.
Reposts another account, Katie, WWG1WGA, and that means where we go one, we go all. another major slogan of the QAnon death cult that talks about Trump conducting public executions, killing his political rivals on Capitol Hill, beheading them on live TV, and
That is
executing
crazy,
them in
y'all.
other gruesome ways on live TV. And then it says, "We the people love President Trump, WWG1,
We the people.
WGA." Now, it's not a coincidence that Donald Trump keeps posting QAnon stuff over and over again, because the QAnon cult is all about Trump's finding the secret Democrat pedo cabal. And so now that Donald Trump is essentially admitting that Mar-a-Lago was used as a ground, we've
Another
reported on this
brothel.
before. It's undisputed that Mar-a-Lago was...
Now again, his granddaddy, was it his granddaddy, his great grandpa had a brothel. Let's be clear. He had a brothel. Yeah, so Mar-a-Lago was a brothel.
Used as the grounds where Epstein and Ghislaine would walk over. They lived right down the block. They'd find an underage girl who was previously homeless, who somehow got a job as the towel girl in the Mar-a-Lago spa. Like,
bam. Previously homeless. Y'all, tea sippers, with your good ear. Hey, Dwayne. Hey, Jenny. Hey, everybody came in that I didn't see. Have we heard that before? I keep trying to tell y'all gonna hear me one day. Everything we heard it once, we've heard. Can anybody tell me who have we heard that before? Oh, y'all don't remember. It's too late. Can y'all hit the like button? Y'all remember Ava with Diddy? Y'all remember little Ava, little white girl? He said he was adopting, just like Madonna and Sandra Bullock and whoever else. Y'all remember Ava? Ava Barrino. I don't understand how women can do. Y'all remember Ava? One of her stories was that she was walking down the street. He saw her. She didn't have no place to go. You remember she was homeless. He asked her, invited her to come in and stay with them, and said, would you like to be my maid? No, he didn't say that, but I just had to do that little color purple up in there. You want to be my daughter's friends. You want to play with Delilah and Jesse, So, and then when he said, I don't know if that story's going to fly over well, they got their eyes on me. And then she said, well, I was a baby. I was 6 months old. Y'all remember? But y'all remember when it was that she didn't have no place to stay. He thought that she would be a good Samaritan and would adopt Ava. Has anybody seen Ava? Yeah, I'm just trying to get y'all that. Diddy studied Epstein's manual, handbook. And I keep trying to tell y'all that one of them hundreds of people that's in them Epstein files will be Diddy. So they moving to try to pardon Diddy. Get Diddy up out of there. Them eyeballs saying, don't forget about me. What about me? Please don't leave me in here. They coming for my ass literally. Yeah, they coming for it. I like taking it. I don't like mine being took. Yeah, but I thought you was throwing your ass up in the air for old Clayton Howard. Ain't that boy name? Dave came in over here lying to us, wanting to sue, trying to get Diddy money back. He looked like a whole fool. But anyway, wasn't he throwing his butt up in the air, trying to act like his hole was a vajayjay? Yeah, well, go on give it up to Big Bubba now. Shit, what you running for? let's go. But I just need for us to understand, pay attention to the similarities in their brothels, in their because Donald Trump, I don't know if he realized, he just admitted yesterday that Epstein stole some of his minor trafficked young girls. Yeah, but I don't necessarily believe he I believe you was working with the Epstein and Ghislaine, and she would come down after y'all would put them to work and get them all comfortable and stuff, and let them see these high society folk, and then she groomed them. Yeah, and y'all did swapping out. That's why you would go to the office and be looking them all up and down, grabbing on them, kissing on them. And he said, oh, no, 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 that's not yours. Y'all swapping our kids. Let's be clear. Let's be clear, old pervert.
Essentially admitting that Mar-a-Lago was used as a ground. We've reported on this before. It's undisputed that Mar-a-Lago was used as a grounds where Epstein and Ghislaine would walk over. They lived right down the block. They'd find an underage girl who was previously homeless, who somehow got a job as the towel girl in the Mar-a-Lago spa like Virginia Giuffre did, and they would sex traffic her. And that's how Epstein found the girls, or at least some of them, like Virginia Giuffre. Or Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell would bring over a 14-year-old girl who goes by the pseudonym Jane Doe, who says, hey, or Epstein was like, hey, you like this little girl? And by the way, the Virginia Giuffre sex trafficking took place in 2000. In 2002, Donald Trump said Epstein's a great guy who likes women on the younger side. Donald Trump then posts this photo of Abraham Lincoln. And then this is what Donald Trump's reposting. He says, sanctuary city mayors are defying federal law. They are insurrectionists, just like the Southern governors during the Civil War. President Trump should declare martial law in those cities, arrest the mayors, appoint military governors, and restore the rule of law, just like I did. This is a repost. Everything I'm showing you, Donald Trump posted this morning. Donald Trump posts, Joe Biden's presidency was the biggest scam in the U.S. history. Donald Trump posts another photo, treason. Again, over and over again. He posts this image.
So y'all know that means he is guilty of treason.
The most badass president of all time. He posts this.
KJ.
The real art of the deal. This is a huge deal. European goods coming into the U.S. will have a 15% tariff, and the EU will put 0% tariffs on U.S. goods, buy hundreds of billions in military gear, make $600 billion in U.S. investments, buy $750 billion in U.S. energy. Well, I'm sorry, I stand with Trump 47, woman for Trump, if that's even a real account, and not like Donald Trump posting to himself or people in his administration posting so he can repost. But the European Union already said that it will not be investing $600 billion, that it's not a guarantee, that this is not a binding deal. Oh yeah, and those 15% tariffs, those are taxes on American people.
That we gonna have to pay.
Those are taxes on imports. On the importer, not on the country of origin, which get passed on to the consumer.
Do he know that, or do he don't care?
Donald Trump posts the following, just like a total lie. But do you see how desperate and scared he is? This is all this morning, by the way. You see how desperate and scared he is about the Epstein cover-up, that it's like post. So this is from an account called Good Woman 6. And then he goes, Donald Trump donated his salary and lost $2 billion of his wealth while in office. He served for free and didn't use the office to enrich himself. Donald Trump was the first true public servant in a very long time. Repost if you agree. Do you see what a sick and disgusting cult this is? All lies. Donald Trump didn't lose $2 billion. Donald Trump has enriched himself to the tune of $6 billion or $7 billion, literally grifting off the White House. grifting off the office. He used the White House account yesterday to promote himself, to promote his new golf course in Scotland. He's selling meme coins from the White House, bitcoins from the White House. Foreign countries and companies have to invest in Trump-related companies if they want breaks, if they want off of criminal charges. This is the biggest fraudulent grifter president ever in history, and you go, oh, a true public servant. And then Donald Trump reposts it, but the gaslighting gets even worse. This was a post from Donald Trump this morning.
You can't play me, baby, ain't no try and tame me. It's time to put yourself first, don't stop believing your worth. Let it rain on. Put your fabulous. Hello, Moto.
Soon as I leave, go get some water. Sorry. Yeah, we paying for them trips. We paying for them terrorists and
Dethrone
everything.
the kings. Term limits. No kings. And then Donald Trump says Chuck Grassley, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, they're the real kings, not Donald Trump. Do you see that it's such an obvious tactic that the cult uses on everything? It's always projection and confession, right? Whatever you're doing, you're a dictator, you're behaving as a king. Just accuse the other side of it. And then there's both sides to the argument. And then corporate news is like, well, on the one hand, you're doing this. On the other, isn't it true that these people have served for a long time? No, Donald Trump is an authoritarian dictator and a really crappy one also, who's destroying our country. And he's making social media posts about arresting the former president for treason. And then he's saying that they should all go behind bars.
It blows my mind because he actually acts like a traitor of the country. It's like he really on the cool hate the U.S. and then to know that he really is a descendant of immigrants. It's like, so there may be a reason why he has this bitterness, a sincere hatred type of mentality for the U.S. because he does everything, it appears, in my opinion, to destroy the country. And the people really are thinking that he's doing good. And in reality, he is stealing from the country. He is accusing everybody of what he is. Treason. And he know it. He called Epstein disgusting. Okay, and what are you? Because you was his best friend. What are you? You were in business with him. What are you? You said he was an awesome guy after you claimed he stole your minors from you. And why did you employ minors that was homeless? Yeah, oh. How long is this going to go on? When are they going to shut it down? That's what I'm ready for. When are they going to flip his world upside down? So these little threats that he made today is giving me a feel like he know it's coming and he plotting. He plotting. That's how I'm feeling. Let's listen.
Post. So this is from an account called Good Woman 6. And then he goes, Donald Trump donated his salary and lost $2 billion of his wealth while in office. He served for free and didn't use the office to enrich himself. Donald Trump was the first true public servant in a very long time. Repost if you agree. Do you see what a sick and disgusting cult this is? All lies. Donald Trump didn't lose $2 billion. Donald Trump has enriched himself to the tune of $6 billion or $7 billion, literally grifting off the White House, grifting off the office. He used the White House account yesterday to promote himself, to promote his new golf course in Scotland. He's selling meme coins from the White House, bitcoins from the White House. Foreign countries and companies have to invest in Trump-related companies if they want breaks, if they want off of criminal charges. This is the biggest fraudulent grifter president ever in history, and you go, oh, term limits. No kings. And then Donald Trump says Chuck Grassley, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, they're the real kings, not Donald Trump. Do you see that it's such an obvious tactic that the cult uses on everything? It's always projection and confession, right? Whatever you're doing, you're a dictator, you're behaving as a king. Just accuse the other side of it. And then there's both sides to the argument. And then corporate news is like, well, on the one hand, you're doing this. On the other, isn't it true that these people have served for a long time? No, Donald Trump is an authoritarian dictator and a really crappy one also, who's destroying our country. And he's making social media posts about arresting the former president for treason. And then he's saying that they should all go behind bars. And then he's quoting QAnon slogans about public executions of said officials. But our corporate news, they're going to be too busy covering up, maybe the Democrats' brand needs a reboot. Maybe they need a reboot. I mean, the guy's freaking talking about public execution. What are we doing here? Seriously, what the hell are we doing here? Oh, and then Donald Trump makes this post. Mandy Gunaskara was fantastic, talking about the environment scam on Varney & Co. Wow, she really gets it, including the biggest hoax of them all, windmills. We won't be approving any of the money-losing monstrosities in the Trump administration. Great job, Mandy. So no solar energy, no windmills. Trump is focused on outdated coal. So while the rest of the world is going to advance into the technologies and energy that's needed, the United States is going to go back to horse and buggies and coal and what else? What else are we doing here? Hey everybody, Ben Mycelis here from the Midas Touch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner firm, where he is now.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about doing their teeth in the day.
Have a case like this, the consultation with Popok's firm is free. Give him a call, 77-POPO. Remember, I've been covering this now for 2 or 3 months, when everybody said that India's trade deal was coming tomorrow. You remember that? The trade deal with India is right around the corner. Remember my reporting, Furious India reporting? I said, there's no way that's happening. I go, I'm listening to what the India foreign minister's saying, the defense minister's saying. I'm listening to what Modi's saying.
Lying.
I'm listening to all these Indian officials, and they're pissed at Trump. They think that Trump has basically been bribed by Pakistan, which bought Trump Bitcoin and then had the Pakistani military general chill and hanging out the White House after Pakistan invested in Trump-related Bitcoin. That's what they think in India. They think Trump screwed over the students in India with the way Trump's attacked universities. They think Trump's attacked, and rightfully so, they think he's attacked businesses in India by saying Apple can't build manufacturing plants in India. And India is pissed that Donald Trump continues to claim that he solved the war between India and Pakistan after the terrorist attacks in Kashmir, when India's like, you had nothing to do with it. And Trump's like, I dangled trade in front of them. And that's what got it done. Donald, how could you have dangled trade when there's no trade deal that even happened to get the deal done between India and Pakistan? You had nothing to do with it at all. But Donald Trump's like, we'll be slapping a 25% tariff on India. Get ready. Get ready, India. Oh, and then yesterday, Donald Trump attacked Chuck Grassley, the MAGA Republican senator who chairs the Judiciary Committee, and Chuck Grassley moments ago just responded on in the Senate committee, and he goes, "I was surprised." He's 90 years old. This guy. He's like, "I was surprised to see Trump go after me. That's not like his behavior. Why would you be so mean for?" Oh, really, Chuck Grassley? That's not Trump's behavior. He's posting about killing the former presidents of the United States on social media. But you're shocked that he's acting a little mean to you, huh? Here, play this clip.
Last night, I was surprised to see President Trump on Truth Social go after me and Senate Republicans over what we call the blue slip. Now, to people in the real America, not here in this Washington, D.C. and island surrounded by reality, the people in real America don't care about what the blue slip is, but in fact, it impacts in their states the district judges who serve their communities. and the U.S. attorneys who ensure the law and order is enforced. I was offended by what the president said, and I'm disappointed that it would result in personal insults.
By the way, here's Don Jr. And his new girlfriend, Anna Moneymaker. You see them right there. And then you have these MAGA Republican Congress members one by one going on various morning shows today. Like here we have MAGA Republican Congress member Burleson, and he's asked, why is Donald Trump considering to pardon a convicted sex trafficker? And Ghislaine Maxwell and Burleson's like, I just think he's keeping his powder dry. Here, play this clip.
And as you know, Congressman, she's currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for participating in the sexual assault cases against these young girls who were working down there. The president has not ruled out a pardon for Maxwell. Why isn't the president explicitly saying he won't pardon a convicted sex trafficker?
Why?
I think he's keeping his powder dry. I mean, a lot of times when
His
we're
what?
asked questions on the spot, having not had the opportunity to fully vet them, you're the safe place is to keep your powder dry. And so I think that in general, and if you're asking my opinion, I don't think that pardoning her is even remotely something that should be thought about. I think that if she's able to bring forward truth and bring forward information that might be able to benefit the lives and help some healing occur for some of these young victims, there's things outside of a pardon I think that that should be considered.
All right, Congressman.
Okay, and Wolf Blitzer says, well, Donald Trump said that
powder dry.
Epstein would steal the underage girls from Mar-a-Lago and
Trafficker.
I think he's keeping his powder dry.
What does
a lot
that
of times
mean?
when we're asked questions on the spot, having
Participating in the sexual assault cases against these young girls who were working down there. The president has not ruled out a pardon for Maxwell. Why isn't the president explicitly saying he won't pardon a convicted sex trafficker?
I think he's keeping his powder dry. A lot of times when we're asked questions on the spot, having not had the opportunity to fully vet them, you're the safe place is to keep your powder dry. And so I think that in general, and if you're asking my opinion, I don't think that pardoning her is even remotely something that should be thought about. I think that if she's able to bring forward truth and bring forward information that might be able to benefit the lives and help some healing occur for some of these young victims, there's things outside of a pardon I think that that should be considered.
All right, Congressman.
okay, and Wolf Blitzer says, well, Donald Trump said that Epstein would steal the underage girls from Mar-a-Lago and then sex traffic them. Like, what do you think about those comments? And then Burleson's like, well, he didn't go to the island. Trump wasn't at the island. Here, play this clip.
Certainly will. The President Trump said yesterday, I should say, that Epstein, quote, stole, his word, stole young women who worked as employees in his Mar-a-Lago spa down in Florida, including one of the most well-known Epstein accusers, Virginia Giuffre, who died earlier this year by suicide. What's your reaction to Trump's comments?
Yeah, I think that Trump did not visit Epstein Island. I take him at his word for that. I think
that was not the question.
He's trying to make sure that the files are released in a proper way. I think that what he's also having to deal with is the fact that some people in his administration overpromised without knowing exactly what was available to them when it came to releasing the files and not knowing where the status of the investigation truly was. And so I think he's having to handle that situation delicately. So I believe that at the end of the day, the goal is to get these files released without harming the victims, and I think that that's a shared goal that we all have.
Congressman Burleson, let me explain it to you. Trump was the island, okay?
Absolutely.
It was Palm Beach. Trump didn't have to go to the island because it was happening at Mar-a-Lago, okay? The island, no, Maralargo, okay? 2 blocks away from where Epstein lived. Epstein and Ghislaine lived there. They'd walk 2 blocks and they'd go, oh, look at that little girl. That's how sick these people are. Look at that little girl. Are you homeless, little girl? Oh, you working at the spa? And then they would sex traffic her. That's what happened with Virginia Giuffre. They'd bring over a little girl, 14 years old, to Trump. You like this one? You like this one? They'd have Trump go to the office, listen to the stories of Maria Farmer and her sister Annie Farmer. Trump would look at these girls up and down, and then Epstein would say, no, that's not yours. Go in the other room, Donald. Go in the other room. Donald Trump would have the events at Mar-a-Lago with just him and Epstein and 30 girls of indeterminate age. What do you think was happening at those events, Burleson? What do you think went down? Patty cake bakers. What do you think was happening at those events when it was Trump, Epstein, and 30 girls that they would fly in from different places of indeterminate age and say that they would give them modeling contracts and that they were going to be VIP modeling? How do you think that went? How do you think that went down, huh? Oh, but the island, right? Yeah. What do you think about the fact that Michael Wolff, by the way, who's doing videos now on the Midas Touch Network, who is going to be a biographer for Epstein, said that he saw multiple Polaroids of Donald Trump with girls of indeterminate age, topless, with Donald Trump stain on his pants. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Is it too difficult for you to process, Burleson? Anyway, everybody, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe.
See what's next.
Is more important than ever.
This is crazy. Please subscribe. Thank you. Get the likes. I don't know why the folk try not to. It's too late to fuss. Hold on. What is this one? Secrets. We love when secrets are exposed, don't we? Come on.
I bought a $500 bottle of Creed of MEMPHIS because it's the world's most popular fragrance, potentially of all time. And the
Texas Republicans reveal their plan to steal.
Oh, not Texas.
Turns out everything is bigger in Texas, including the corruption. This is just another day.
Just another day.
If there's one thing that we've learned, it's that when Donald Trump speaks, people listen. Whether he's telling his pedophile pal to stop poaching employees, or telling Texas Republicans to help him consolidate his grip on power.
President Trump, ever mindful of the very tight House majority Republicans wield, this week basically
steal congressional seats. Turns out everything is bigger in Texas, including the corruption. This is just another day.
Let's go.
If there's one thing that we've learned, it's that when Donald Trump speaks, people listen. Whether he's telling his pedophile pal to stop poaching employees, or telling Texas Republicans to help him consolidate his grip on power.
President Trump, ever mindful of the very tight House majority Republicans wield, this week basically ordered Texas Republicans to redraw congressional district lines to add GOP seats to the next Congress.
That's right. Currently, Republicans have a 7-seat advantage in their congressional delegation, but with the midterms coming up, Trump is leaving nothing to chance when it comes to holding on to a majority. Now, to be fair, once you've been burned by someone telling you they won't get pregnant and then this comes out, you got some trust issues. Which is why Trump recently gave Texas Governor Greg Abbott a call and told him to do something about all of this by finding 5 new seats. And wouldn't you know it, suddenly a special session was called and redistricting was on the agenda. And when Donald Trump was asked about this, here was his answer.
Are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map? No, just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
Trump isn't even denying it. He's just making it seem like the incredibly rare mid-decade ploy to gerrymander districts for explicit partisan gain. And wouldn't you know it, suddenly a special session was called and redistricting was on the agenda.
Yeah.
And when Donald Trump was asked about this, here was his answer.
Are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map? No, just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
Trump isn't even denying it. He's just making it seem like the incredibly rare mid-decade ploy to gerrymander districts for explicit partisan gain is no big deal. But it is a big deal. Slightly less of a big deal than Don Jr.'s mysteriously wet breasts, but a big deal nonetheless. Well, today, Texas Republicans finally revealed what this new redistricted map would look like.
The new congressional map, which has yet to be finalized, puts Democratic Representatives Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez in redder districts and puts other incumbent Democrats at risk by redrawing or merging their current districts, including Al Green, Julie Johnson, Mark Vesey, and Greg Casar.
Surprise, surprise, Republicans are specifically targeting Democrats and subverting the democratic process.
And Greg Casar.
Surprise, surprise, Republicans are specifically targeting Democrats and subverting the democratic process. And if we needed any further proof that this is a blatant piece of partisan politics, get this. The supposed reason behind the urgent need to suddenly redistrict Texas is because the Department of Justice under Trump says that the way Texas previously drew their lines is an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. But these are the same maps that just a couple of years ago, Texas lawyers defended in court against accusations of racial gerrymandering. Back then, again for the same exact maps, attorneys from Texas argued that there was not evidence, new or otherwise, of racial gerrymandering, and called the DOJ a third party with no actual knowledge of Texas's redistricting process. So basically Texas said, y'all don't know shit about Texas, but we'll be obedient little boys and girls and follow orders because we just like being in power too. Donald Trump and the Republicans will do anything to win, but Texas Democrats are fighting back.
Hours after another packed public hearing on redistricting, Fox 4 has learned some Texas Democrats are considering their options to hold off a vote, including a quorum break.
Yes, a quorum break. It's not just the incredibly unpopular sequel to Fox's hit series Prison Break, it's also a political strategy. Breaking quorum is the act of politicians leaving the state so that the party in power doesn't have the minimum number of lawmakers to be able to conduct business.
Scott, do I need to remove you, or are you going to be man enough or boy enough to remove yourself? Scott, you going to remove yourself? You going to man up and remove yourself? Or do I have to put you out? Oh, okay, now you can't talk, so I'm going to put your ass out. Y'all say bye to Scott. Okay. Can y'all hit the like button, please? Thank you very much. Let's go.
Also comes of politicians leaving the state.
A quorum break.
Yes, a quorum break. It's not just the incredibly unpopular sequel to Fox's hit series Prison Break, it's also a political strategy. Breaking quorum is the act of politicians leaving the state so that the party in power doesn't have the minimum number of lawmakers to be able to conduct business. It is a smart play, but also comes at a cost.
In 2021, in protest of changes to election laws, Democrat lawmakers flew to Washington, D.C., so there weren't enough lawmakers at the Capitol for the House to operate. However, in 2023, Republican House leaders passed a rule saying that those who break quorum face a $500 a day fine if they're absent.
If you have...
Why can't I make any changes without an admin approval? Why?
With Monday.com's intuitive work management platform, you have the power. Not IT, not admins. You're in charge. So you can tailor work exactly how you love to do it. For example, you can add custom fields and choose how you like to view your work without needing help from IT. That's why over 225,000 customers love to use Monday.com, because you have the freedom.
Donors paying the personal fines that lawmakers have accrued as a result of their conduct, that comes dangerously close to looking like a bribe.
Yes, and what immense peril a politician could face from accepting a bribe. I mean, you could practically fit that level of blowback onto an entire Qatari jet. But while Texas Democrats are contemplating fleeing the state to fight back, some Democratic governors are seeing that the only way to compete against today's Republicans is to best them at their own redistricting game.
This party needs to wake up. These guys aren't screwing around. And I say this not in literal sense, but they're assassins when it comes to the way they weaponize grievance and the way they play politics.
If they force us, we've got to put everything on the table. We've got to make decisions that maybe we wouldn't have made before.
If we want to still be in this game, we need to disabuse ourselves, disenthrall ourselves of the status quo in the past.
Exactly. Republicans have already gerrymandered districts in North Carolina and Ohio and Florida, Kentucky, West Virginia, Utah, and they're about to do it even more in Texas. And if Democrats want to have a future in government, we unfortunately have to do it too. but it's a means to an end. If Democrats gain enough seats, we can get power so that we can render the entire practice of gerrymandering illegal, just like we tried to do with H.R. 1 when Democrats were in power. Yes, it's almost as backwards as this logic.
Sex to save the friendship.
But if we have to, we have to. Too often, Democrats get elected and then good government themselves into obscurity. Democrats must acknowledge that we are in a different era of politics. The reality is, just because the logo is the same, that doesn't mean what's inside it is. What used to be a party filled with reasonable moderates willing to reach across the aisle is now one big soup of virus-infested bile, which also happens to be RFK's dream description of a swimming hole. You know, in the past, when politicians on either side were found to be involved in scandalous business dealings, or were attempting to subvert the courts, or were found guilty of sexual assault, or were trying to, protect their child-molesting spa patrons, they were rightly ostracized from their party and not nominated to lead it. But that ship has clearly sailed. Republicans have pledged complete fealty to a man that sees zero reward in bipartisan efforts, and the Texas redistricting effort is just the millionth example of exactly that. And speaking of Texas, a quick aside, remember how Donald Trump promised the Republican governor of Texas that Kerr County would get whatever federal assistance they needed after the disastrous floods?
He lied.
Well, sadly, parts of Maryland were also hit with horrific floods in May, but when their Democratic governor requested $15.8 million in FEMA aid, their request was denied, even though the damage exceeded FEMA's threshold for disaster relief. I guess helping them would mean a big hit to next year's birthday parade budget. Donald Trump is completely transparent about his feelings on working with Democrats.
Everything's fake with the Democrats.
Worst scum on earth. Bad, sick people.
They're a bunch of sick people.
All of which is to say, when that is your opponent, hoping that he will one day wake up and follow the rules or be a good governing partner is a fool's errand. What Trump and the Republicans are doing is beyond fucked up, which is why it is worth remembering why Democrats need to be in government in the first place. It's not to defend the righteousness of the filibuster.
Let's remember, we heard him say the economy does better with Democrats than Republicans. We heard that come out of his mouth.
Or even to be professionally photographed deep-throating a corn dog. Democrats are in government to do the things Republicans won't, like providing Americans with health care, protecting women's reproductive rights, combating climate change, passing gun legislation. Americans want action on the issues, not blind protection on our norms and institutions. But to do that, to enact our agenda, we have to be in power. And while we may hate even the idea of redistricting,
we have to.
Just another day.
Before you go, if you need this content and you want to see,
I know the Lord will make a way. We gonna need our shit. Hold on, let's see what that's done. Popped off. A lot done happened. I can tell you that. Hold on. Quit part of. First class loser. No, they didn't. First class loser.
With how the Jeffrey Epstein scandal continues to not only spiral out of control of Donald Trump, the White House, and their political operation and allies, but is really feeding a larger question over whether the famously loyal MAGA base is, in a sense, over. Is this a new chapter where post-Epstein, Donald Trump cannot just count on this kind of what has been very loyal support on most issues, most talking points, most defenses, particularly in that new digital podcast space we've been covering? This is now beyond DC politics or MAGA. The mainstream discourse, the way we understand what's happening in our country and culture, includes seriously disturbing questions about what Trump's own podcast allies call a cover-up. Now there's pressure from a Republican senator and heat from Democrats. Now look at Trump's reality. A crowd on hand for a punk rock show, the Dropkick Murphys. We've covered before how things matter in culture and what we might call daily life, separate from the, quote, news or DC politics. And you can see that you don't need to explain this story to the country. Rock fans, other folks who might not be glued to old school linear television. They know exactly what is going on and the questions looming about this long relationship between Trump and Epstein. At the show, they dedicated a song called, quote, "First Class Loser," to the president.
This next song is dedicated to a guy who wears
all over his body.
his pants and his diapers. Rapes women. It's called First Class Loser.
No, cause that nasty shit that be in the front of his pants don't be orange.
And this is going around, and it's not just in the world of politics. Outlets that focus on music and culture and sometimes kind of look away from the daily DC stories see this as a big music story. Rolling Stone with the headline you see, Dropkick Murphys make Trump their honorary, quote, "First Class Loser" during Warped Tour set, HuffPo referring to them as the iconic punk band ripping Trump through a song that people can sing along to. As for the political nightmare, about half the country now thinks something that, again, this is polling, not proven, but they think that Trump is so suspicious on the story, the way he's been acting, the cover-up, the lies, the gaslighting, as Joe Rogan put it, that 46%, when asked by The Economist, with YouGov, a magazine and a website, say they think Trump could be involved in the Epstein crimes. Another 23% just say not sure. A third of Republicans now say Trump was involved or are not sure. Now, there is not a legal process that has found Trump culpable anyway involved in the very serious crimes that Epstein was both charged with when he died, that Maxwell and others were convicted of. Donald Trump has had other legal troubles. That's been well covered and well known. He admitted to certain things on the Access Hollywood tape in his words. But this is a sign of why it is so much larger than just the government portion. Government portion is a lot of folks thinking that Trump's administration has lied and acted shady about this. And the history portion is that this happens to all swirl around an individual who was tied to many prominent people, not only Donald Trump, but Donald Trump was one of them. Republican Senator Kennedy going after what I mentioned there, the first part, the governing choices of the Trump administration on this important case.
Over recess, do you worry at all that this Epstein issue is going to be a distraction from talking about the benefits of the One Big Beautiful Bill?
Well, the Epstein mess is already a distraction. And it's not a political issue for me. It's a moral issue. If adults aren't going to protect their kids, who is? The Justice Department has dug up more snakes than they can kill in terms of their handling of this. I think we're beyond the point where they can say, look, trust me, there's nobody else. Now the American people want to see receipts.
At the top Republican senator, he's talking about Attorney General Pam Bondi. He uses the term Justice Department maybe to soften the blow, but he's talking about what they're doing now and what they misled on now, and saying that you can't trust someone who offers receipts and then hides them. That's this Trump DOJ. It's not 5 years ago. Daily Beast reports Trump officials worried that the scandal is growing as Trump's crowd size shrinks. The Post says Trump's advisors are not under any impression that the storm has passed. Here's one quote from a White House official. I wouldn't say it's blown over. Very small segment of the base. It's never going to die down no matter what. A kind of a fait accompli attitude about this. Part of this is about what you think happened, and part of this is about the process of information, of learning. That's why some people have taken a kind of schadenfreude or gotten a kick out of so many MAGA fans, supporters, and big, loud voices suddenly sounding like every other critic of Donald Trump over the last many years. Critical of the lies, critical of the stonewalling, critical of the very extreme way that Donald Trump does propaganda. We have never had a modern president, for example, lose an election. He clearly lost. He was the loser of that election in 2020. Lie about it forever and be a part of a rally that led to a sedition crime spree. So people have gotten used to or normalized maybe how often there are these lies coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. And in the MAGA side,
They have a playbook where they attack other people. You know about it. They shoot the messenger. They attack the press. We know all about that. But now they are the messenger in the press. And they, Megyn Kelly, and Joe Rogan, and others don't like it. And Senator Kennedy's calling out the lies. And so we're in this interesting sort of through the looking glass moment, even apart from the important underlying sex crimes, where you're seeing a very different reaction to the same old Trump. They just don't like it happening to them. So they're asking for information or
Always the
demanding
bridesmaid. Absolutely, Lisa.
Is your team spending more time on timesheets than their actual work? Deltek Replicon simplifies time tracking by automatically capturing and verifying employee hours from the tools your team already uses. Try it today for free at replicon.com.
Let me guess. You're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea.
Well, imagine that. A politician and president who's waged war on the press, quite blatantly, is now facing calls from his own side to be honest and to engage with journalists or release the darn evidence. Republican committee chair in the House has not signed the subpoena that apparently they wanted to use to tell their side, their supporters, they were going after the information. Of course, if you haven't signed it, what's the holdup? He's required by committee rules to do so. And so we don't know when that's going to happen. Again, the Washington games we've told you about. Someone wants to get out of the way of the angry anti-Epstein mob, who's a Republican. So he talks about a subpoena, but that doesn't do the thing. And I want to be clear with you. We know about this because of the work of reporters like this story at the Washington Post, who are going into the details, not just playing a soundbite of him on TikTok claiming he's going to get to the bottom of it if he's not. That takes work. That takes investigative work. In the Senate, Democrats are trying to invoke a fairly obscure law to force a different way to get these Epstein materials out of the Trump DOJ, which is very clearly hiding them despite the many now broken promises to release them.
Be exposed.
Senate Homeland Security Committee
so we can
has
laugh
a means
in
to
his
get
face.
information from the feds. No comment yet on whether that will add to the pressure or how the White House will deal with it. So we have an uproar. We have Democrats here clearly joining this. Some of them have a long record of looking for transparency on this issue. Others may just be doing what you do in politics, which is seeing an issue that is splintering the Republican Party and jumping in. You have Republicans breaking with Donald Trump on this issue in the Congress more than any other this year. More than the big mega bill, where some of them said they didn't like what he was doing, but they didn't use their powers or votes to stop it. More than ICE, where we've seen some libertarians say it's bad to have these kind of federal agents and federal powers used to excess. More than grocery prices and inflation, where Donald Trump has just completely fallen down on the job and not done the thing that he said all last year was so important, take every possible step to lower inflation. The trade war is certainly not doing that. And we have punk bands using their language, protest anthems of 2025, applied to Donald Trump, with that flickering video in the background that I showed you of Trump and Epstein, which brings us back to what is a conflict of interest, not necessarily legally ever a crime, but a conflict of interest that this now deceased sex trafficker had so many social ties to this president, who is now overseeing the rejection of the transparency that he promised about someone who used to be his party mate. And you know, I'm a First Amendment guy, so everyone can say everything. But not everyone who's ever said everything should be running every investigative agency, right? These are different skill sets. You yourself have stood up to or clashed with Dan Bongino, and I want to show some of that as well as how he sounds these days, because the job is getting to him.
Yeah. Give up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling. If you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Cash is there all day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. You know, I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. I stare at these four walls all day in D.C., you know, by myself, divorced from my wife. Not divorced, but I mean separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, you know, we love each other, and it's hard to be apart.
So as he says there, these government jobs, especially something as big as being a senior FBI official, turns out you work all day. You work all day every week, sometimes, although you might have to work nights and weekends.
You don't sound very sympathetic.
I am observing that he seems genuinely surprised and thus shares on public TV. This isn't him ranting to a friend. Shares on TV as if it's still a revelation. These are hard jobs, and they're perhaps different than what he was suited for.
There is no doubt
but that the glamour of that job, basically the top cop in the country, was alluring to Bongino, who had been a failed congressional candidate after all, and a very ambitious guy. And also, when you talk about the grand scheme of things and the mega universe and all the rest of it, it's one thing when you have to actually do the job, and someone is missing in Nebraska, or there's something else in Wyoming, and it's a really hard job. And I really felt for all, and the top cop in the country was alluring to Bongino, who had been a failed congressional candidate after all, and a very ambitious guy. And also, when you talk about the grand scheme of things and the mega universe and all the rest of it, it's one thing when you have to actually do the job, and someone is missing in Nebraska, or there's something else in Wyoming, and it's a really hard job. And I really felt for him. I saw that live, and I worried that he was coming apart at the seams. And I always thought, if anything, we clashed heads in one run of Hannity, 30 of 31 days. Had that kind of emotion.
Is he up to this job?
I think that he has a good heart, and easy for me to hate him, but I don't. Is he up for the job? I don't know. Technically speaking, I believe that, it is a very complicated job. It's a job that you have to
making excuses. Making excuses. He started making excuses, didn't he? He couldn't even get it out. Couldn't get it out.
So last year, the former CEO of Fat Brands Incorporated, the parent company of a restaurant chain called Fatburger, a guy named Andrew Wiederhorn was indicted in what federal prosecutors alleged was a $47 million sham loan scheme.
Let's hear this.
Well, just 5 days after Chief Judge Boasberg of the D.C. federal court threatened to refer Department of Justice lawyers to state bar associations for disciplinary actions because of their
Oh yeah, they good. Let's go. That's yeah, let's see how that works. Let's hear this.
D.C. federal court threatened to refer Department of Justice lawyers to state bar associations for disciplinary actions because of their bad faith conduct in front of them. Pam Bondi just filed a judicial complaint against Judge Boasberg, asking that he be investigated because of statements he made back in March, which suddenly have come to light again because the Department of Justice had Fox News run the article and run the story just 2 days ago. So they ginned up an event that happened in March where the judge made some comments, rightly so, about the defiance of the Trump administration causing a constitutional crisis, and then used that to have Fox News just 3 days ago come up with a new report on an old story, then used that to file their judicial conduct complaint against Judge Boasberg. Doesn't everybody see this as a direct response and retaliation because the judge has said he's going to refer all of those lawyers who lied in front of him for bar proceedings and bar disciplinary actions, including maybe disbarment? I see it. You will too, here on the Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. All right, let's get into it. Judge Boasberg is in the news. He'd rather not be. He's the chief judge of the D.C. Federal Circuit, where a lot of these cases involving Donald Trump have been filed. He's handling one major one. We call it JGG. That's the name of the plaintiffs in the case brought by the American Civil Liberties Union. That was a group of 200 people who in the middle of the night were hijacked, thrown on a plane by Donald Trump, and sent to El Salvador for a $6 million payment, done without due process, without habeas corpus rights, without anything. And the judge, having reviewed all of the evidence presented to him, issued an order, a command, an injunction for the planes to stop being flown I think only 20 or 30 had been flown when the judge had the hearing. But knowing that there was a hearing coming up in the morning, the Trump administration during the night started sending more planes. The judge stopped it, issued an injunction, yet 2 more planes at least went to El Salvador. Judge held proceedings, and then after the temporary restraining order was entered,
80 to what, 740 in less than what, 3 months?
So you need to raise your credit score fast? Check this. Use the 11-word credit maximizer. You get the guide. Find the pre-written letter. Add your name. Send it to your creditor. And in weeks, your bad marks disappear. Collections gone. Late payments gone. Inquiries gone.
the Supreme Court eventually removed the temporary restraining order, but because of the conduct of the lawyers and the Trump administration, the Boasberg found probable cause that the Trump administration, Department of Justice, was in criminal contempt. First judge ever to find a Department of Justice and an administration in possible criminal contempt. They appealed that, the Trump administration. It got stayed by effectively two Trump judges, Rayo and Katsas, on the D.C. Court of Appeals, where it still sits. But since then, there's been new information about the defiance, refusal, disobedience of the Trump administration, primarily coming through not one, but two whistleblowers who got fired by the Department of Justice, who sent in 30-page complaints against Emil Bovee, who's about to hit his judge for the Third District Court of Appeal, Third Circuit Court of Appeal, his judge vote on the Senate floor this week. And this is all running interference to try to get Emil Bovee appointed, because the whistleblower said that Bovee, when he was in the Department of Justice, or is in the Department of Justice, had a meeting in March, same March period, in which he told the lawyers assembled that they were to tell federal judges to go F off, to go F you, if they're asked any information about Donald Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to try to get people out of this country and to a supermax, notoriously bad, murderous prison in El Salvador. That all came out during the confirmation hearing. The judge, the same Judge Boasberg, on Thursday or Friday of last week, held a hearing, and he said that whistleblower report confirms everything that I found in my probable cause for criminal contempt. But because the appellate court, 2-1 with two Trump judges, put a pin in it and stayed his order, he was left with making the following observation. The lawyers in the room who promoted this, who allowed all of this to happen, the violation of my orders, the people to be sent to El Salvador, and all of that, acted in bad faith. It's supported by the whistleblower. I'm going to be holding some hearings related to it, and I'm considering making a referral to the bar associations about your bar licenses. And right on cue, Trump administration had Fox News on the 17th of July run a story about something that happened in March in order to gin up this new complaint that Pam Bondi just filed. Let me show you, and it's actually cited in her letter. She puts the evidence of the conspiracy that I'm observing between the Trump administration and Fox News in her letter, Pam Bondi's letter. Let's roll the clip.
John, great to have you with us. So when you hear these comments that were reported by the Federalist from Judge Boasberg, he's with these, with the other judges, including justices of the Supreme Court, and they're talking at a conference, and he's suggesting, it sounds like, hey guys, are you concerned that this president is going to push us to a constitutional crisis by ignoring our orders? How does that sit with you?
Martha, I'm really disturbed by the reported comments. Look, I'm not one to focus on an individual judge and say they ought to be impeached, as the president has said with Judge Boasberg, or to infer some kind of nefarious motives. But what he did here was really inappropriate, and I think it's worse than what the media's been reporting so far. As you set out in your introduction, Martha, this judge has been wrong on so many issues involving Trump.
You'd think he's reporting about something that happened, like yesterday. It happened, the statements that Boasberg made at a judicial conference, which I don't think he's going to deny, which anybody with their eyeballs can actually state and see that the Trump administration is being defiant and disobedient against federal judges. We've got 3 United States Supreme Court justices that have said it in the courtroom, in their opinions, in their dissents, and in conferences and interviews since they've been on summer vacation. Just read Ketanji Brown Jackson. Just read Kagan. Just read Sotomayor. It's exactly the same thing that Boasberg is saying. They're going to make, are next going to make complaints against the 3 of them? You know, sometimes covering the political and legal news cycle feels like chasing a laser pointer. Chaotic, relentless, and sometimes exhausting. And just like my cat, the news can go from napping to total mayhem in a split second. But when the headlines get too wild, there's one guaranteed comfort. Curling up on the couch with my cat and knowing she's eating like the queen she is, thanks to Smalls. This podcast is sponsored by Smalls. If you're a listener of this show, you know that Chanel cannot live without Smalls. Last night, I fed her the turkey recipe, her absolute favorite. And let me tell you, it was gone in 30 seconds flat. Smalls cat food is protein-packed, made with preservative-free ingredients you'd find in your fridge.
Money.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. We tried other work management platforms, not naming names. They all suck. Monday?
And delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food, and I totally get it. And they weren't going to, it's obvious that Trump, they failed. From March has been out for a while. Again, that's promo code LegalAF for 60% off free shipping at Smalls.com for a while. Apparently, the Federalist Society got it like a month ago, and they weren't going to. It's obvious the Trump administration was going to ignore it, didn't think it was a big deal, didn't move on it in March, didn't move on it last month. Only moved on it now because Boasberg is threatening their lawyers, which of course they failed to reference anywhere here. Let me read to you from the letter. I'm going to post it in the Legal AF Substack also. This is sent to Chief Judge Srinivasan of the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. Dear Chief Judge Srinivasan, on March 11th, 2025, by the way, they never date their letters. Let me just see something. It's like a thing with this Department of Justice. They never date their letters because they don't want it to be so obvious that it is stale news. So an undated letter that came in yesterday. March 11, 2025, Judge Boasberg attended a session of the Judicial Conference of the United States, which discussed administrative matters. Okay. Judge Boasberg attempted to improperly influence Chief Justice Roberts and 24 other federal judges by straying from traditional topics to express his belief that the Trump administration would disregard rulings of federal courts and trigger a constitutional crisis. Well, he had he had 4 months of the Trump administration actions to fall back on. Judge Boasberg had no basis. This one made me laugh out loud. The Trump administration has always complied with all court orders. They haven't. That's why there's 200 people sitting or had been sitting in El Salvador until they got human trafficked by the Trump administration and traded to the Maduro regime in Venezuela to release 10 people. That's the same 200 people. They didn't comply with Judge Zinnis's orders to return Abrego Garcia. They didn't comply with certain orders of federal judges not to destroy departments and divisions, not to defund, not to put whole government agencies and employees through the wood chipper. None of that. All violations. Multiple contempt proceedings. Multiple observations by federal judges of defiant, disobedient, contumacious conduct by Donald Trump. And then we have the whistleblower who finally said the truth, which is the Department of Justice lawyers were told to lie to federal judges. So let's use that as the backdrop. All missing, of course, from Pam Bondi's undated letter that she didn't even sign. She had Chad Mazel, who's participated in some of these immigration litigation matters, as the chief of staff. I have to look him up. I'm not even sure he's a lawyer. Anyway, they throw him, Pam Bondi doesn't even have brass ones enough to sign her own complaint letter. She puts her chief of staff up to it. That's courage. That's professional ethics, Pam. So they then outline that right after that statement, he then finds the administration in probable cause for criminal contempt, issues orders, temporary restraining order, which they all blow through, and don't comply with. Then they have, here's the trumped up part, right? The manufactured part on page, they also don't like page numbers. Who makes these things? I don't have page numbers, I don't have dates, but it looks like it's on page 3. They say, in a recent interview, so it's suggesting that they didn't know about it until they watched Fox News, which is a lie, because it's obvious to me that they got this guy to go on Fox News to attack Boasberg so that they could bring a letter on information that didn't look as stale. But I don't know how reporting about something that happened in March, 3-4 months later, makes it less stale. But here's what they say. In a recent interview, University of California, Berkeley law professor John Yoo criticized Boasberg's actions. Then they drop a cite to it, as if this makes the information more credible, because John Yoo went on Fox News to be interviewed. Here's what they want to have happen. They want a special investigative committee to inquire about Boasberg's conduct. They want interim measures, corrective measures during the investigation, and they want to have, here we go, the JGG case reassigned from Boasberg. This is what they want. They want to get rid of Boasberg. It's what they always wanted. Respectfully, a person not named Pam Bondi.
In fact, in clinical trials, the average weight loss was 20% of total body weight. That's 50% more than Ozempic ever got during its trials. This is not only a GLP-1, but a GIP medication, which means it hits 2 hormones at once without any side effects.
If I'm Srinivasan, the chief judge of the appellate division, I reject this. These are not inappropriate comments to make in a committee. These are not inappropriate comments to make before cases that are in front of the court or could be coming in front of the court. No more so than, and if I were him, I would cite Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, Judge Sotomayor, Judge Kagan, all Boasberg's bosses who have expressed similar problems about this administration. They asked Ketanji Brown Jackson recently, what keeps you up at night? The assault on democracy. Well, who does she think she's talking? Who do they think she's talking about? Let's roll that clip.
I would say the state of our democracy. I would say that I am really very interested in getting people to focus and to invest and to pay attention to what is happening in our country and in our government.
All right, I'm going to continue to follow it all right here on Legal AF and on the Midas Touch Network. Take a minute, free subscribe here. Come over to Legal AF.
Hey, y'all, I got to go to sleep. I'm out of juice.
Hit the subscribe button, all for free.
I'll see y'all later. Please hit the like button on the way out if y'all didn't hit it coming in. I'm pooped. Thank you.